I think music is radical self-care. I grew up with two very fobby parents, and I mean that in a very loving way. My parents were very adamant that I learn about my culture and my roots, and a huge part of Indian culture is Bollywood. I grew up in New Jersey and New York City listening to a lot of hip hop and rap and R&B. I realized how important it was to create that safe space, to create a community of comfort where American women like myself felt reminded of their roots. Because we deserve to listen to that music and to have a good time and be reminded of how incredible the place that we come from is. In DJing, we are trying to find two songs, and in my case, I'm looking for an Indian song and an American song, in the same way that I'm trying to take songs from two completely different worlds and trying to put them together. I aspire to do that when I become a lawyer too. I want to find the cases that I could put together, take a rule from this case, take a different precedent, put them together and be like, this is what I came up with. I want them to be like, wow, this is amazing. I never thought that you could put these two things together, but here it is, you did it, and it works. I've had this love for writing for a very long time, and that's gotten me to where I am. It's like a huge source of pride for both of my parents for me to be able to like read and write well. It was such a barrier for my parents. I didn't one day wake up and I was like, I'm gonna read voraciously. It was very clear to me that education was so important to both of them. They signed me up to creative writing workshop classes. They made sure that I knew how to spell well. My dad would create flashcards and would do spelling bees with me. My family is Muslim. The elementary school that I went to was a private Christian school. I remember I was in a crowd of Christian white students and white parents. I had gotten an award for something like perfect attendance, and I know that I deserved a certificate for it. Evidently, the principal, Sister Henry, skipped over my name. I remember my mom digging her knuckles into my spine, and she was like, "Jao Insia," which means in Urdu, "Go Insia." I went up to Sister Henry and I was like, I think I deserve my certificate. Why didn't you call on me? And it turned out that she had just missed my name. My last name, Zaidi, was at the end of the alphabet, and it was an honest mistake. My mom, who was an English language learner, taught me in that moment how to center myself. In high school, I joined the Model UN team, and there was a background research paper that we had to write for these debates. And I was working with a group of students, and I volunteered to write it. And once I had written this research paper, it was really critical for the arguments that we ended up making. And I think at that moment, I started chasing this high of writing these papers, using them for my arguments, giving passionate speeches at these debates and these awards, and I think that made me realize that I could use this craft, this skill that I had developed to convince large groups of people that the point I was making was the right point. This was something I was good at and I could use to my advantage, and getting people to realize the plight of Muslims in India. When I'm not in class, you will find me in office hours or waiting on the bench outside Professor Holmquist or Professor Kerr's office. And that's because I love the education that I'm getting here. I love the professors here. They, regardless of what their political leaning is, they do a good job in challenging what our preconceptions are, challenging our biases, and somehow still connecting it to legal doctrine. There is a particular charge that my classmates and my professors here have that is unlike anything I've ever seen on the East Coast. The type of law that I'm learning, it's often done with a social justice lens or a critical race theory lens that I think is necessary. A lot of it has to do with the political and social justice underpinnings of Berkeley. If they can mold in a positive way the way that we think and question ideas and the law, then I think that means a lot of good things to come for people who have been historically oppressed in the US.